Welcome back, everybody. This time we're going to discuss the surprise year of the New York Giants. Now, my co-host is a huge Giants fan, as you can tell with that hat on. So I want to see how surprised he is from how the Giants season was to what they expected. I think they were expected, if I'm not mistaken, maybe hopefully being 5-11, which would show more signs of an improvement. But the playoffs, nobody expected that. So, Cliff, I just want to see what your perspective is on the Giants' great season.
Yeah, you definitely nailed it there. The Giants were not expected to be a playoff team. In the beginning of the year, all these analysts were saying that 4 or 5 wins would have been what they expected. Six wins would have been a major success. You have a team that basically, well, it's a brand new coaching staff, right? So you're going into a new season with a brand new coaching staff, and they made some really good draft picks this past season, right? The new coaching team with Dables and Joe Shane as
And
the
how about that guy Hodges, huh?
oh yeah,
They
that
got
was
him
a
over from the Bills, who had to cut him because they felt like they were too loaded on receivers. So the Giants really got a good one from that one.
that was so the reality is this is what tells you how successful they were. Hodgins, who they picked up off waivers from the Bills, ended the season on the unofficial depth chart as their number one receiver, right? And really, if you saw the last several games of the season and in the playoff games, he was Daniel Jones' main target. He really was. So and he basically answered the bell. So a guy like that, who again you pick up off waivers, turns into the number one receiver. What does that really tell you? I mean, football's a funny game. Is is he a player that everybody missed on? If you're that young and you're on the waiver wire, either you missed on the guy or um, you know, Daniel Jones is that good. I mean, how do you quantify it? I mean, he had a tremendous last several, I forget when they picked him up. It was probably like week 10 or something, whatever it was. It was very
Was that late? I thought they got him from the beginning. Was that late when they picked him up?
it wasn't the beginning. It was definitely the latter part of the season. Um,
Yeah, I think didn't they get him from the Bills practice squad? Because I think the Bills retained him on the practice squad. I
yeah, well,
think.
yeah, I think they did. I mean, they got him off the waiver wire. So the Bills, he was on the waivers. The Giants picked him up, and again, I'm gonna say we could look it up, but I think it was like week 10. Whatever. The bottom line is, you know, this is a testament to how successful the season was for Daniel Jones specifically as a player. Um, the biggest knock on the Giants were that they didn't really have a true number one.
Well, here's another question I'm going to ask you. Now you know about this guy because I really know characteristics. What was that guy's name? Tony or something? The poor man's
Yeah,
um, Hill.
yeah.
They
So
let him go. You're thinking like, why would they do that when you're trying to see what Daniel Jones could do? That seemed kind of odd. You're thinking because it seemed confusing to me. There must have been something with that whole situation.
yeah, there was. I mean, so here's what I would tell you about Kadarius Toney. True dynamic player, definitely a good talent. Um, I was very excited when they drafted him. I mean, if you look at his college highlights, the guy is an unbelievable receiver. He could be a bona fide number one, and he's on KC now, so we're going to get to see him next weekend. And he's been injured this year, right? And that's one of the reasons why the Giants didn't play him. Honestly, I thought that the injury wasn't as severe as the Giants were leading you to believe because I don't think they wanted him on the field. I believe he's a problem child. That's my opinion. My opinion is he's a me player. He doesn't fit in with that team chemistry. When he joined the Giants, I mean, he was drafted. First of all, he was drafted by Gettleman, right, the previous GM. So he's drafted under Gettleman. He was injured last year, injured this year. And this is what I could tell you about Kadarius Toney. Last year, I want to say before he even caught an NFL pass, he was talking about my brand and all that kind of stuff. The type of stuff that you don't want from a receiver. So he's one of these guys that's
A diva.
he's going to be a diva eventually. He's going to be somebody's problem eventually. I could see it coming a mile away. Right? He's going to be somebody's problem. Now I know that the Giants, who, all these NFL teams, one of the things that they do that you and I don't see behind closed doors, they're sitting these young guys down and they're telling them what you can say and cannot say to the media and really trying to help these guys with, the team image, their image.
PR image, yeah.
Exactly. And believe me, they spend a lot of time to make sure that these guys aren't putting the team in a negative light, teammates in a negative light. That's why when you hear a lot of these, young guys, not even young guys, even veteran guys, like a Josh Allen's a perfect example. Even Daniel Jones, when they get in front of a microphone, they're very good at putting team first, right? You'll always hear Josh Daniels and Daniel Jones whenever they're asked a question. The question could be phrased as, "You had a great year. What did how did you do it? If they're a big game or a big win." And what do they say? The first thing they say is, "Well, it's really my teammates. I couldn't do it without my teammates." They're trained on how to answer these types of
Well,
questions.
who's not like that? Like with that stuff is Zach Wilson. Notice how the team do not want him because he seems like a diva as a quarterback. Never take responsibility or accountability.
You know what? Yeah, I honestly, he took a beating in the media after that one Jet loss where I think it was against New England. Was it against New England when
Oh yeah, when they only scored 3 whole points.
right.
Oh, did you feel you put the defense in a bad spot? It's like no, like
Yeah.
you only scored 3 points. The defense did their job. Two
So
bad interceptions too.
yeah, so any conversation you and I have, we get off track, and I appreciate that because I like this conversation. This is what I would say. This is my opinion of what happened with Zach Wilson. Zach Wilson is a young guy, okay? Um, Second year player, I think. He's a second year
Yeah,
player.
second.
So that was a gotcha type moment where, he said something he shouldn't have said. Um, they're young guys. You can't expect them to be perfect. And they say something like that, and the media destroys them. And
Especially in New York.
especially in New York, the media destroys them. Now, in New York, I don't know what it's like in South Carolina. That
Nothing like that. Nothing. Because I'm used to the media being all over the place and papers. I mean, they have like 200 media members for each baseball game, no less.
yeah,
You
so
know what I mean?
right. So that quote, it goes viral here in a heartbeat. So next thing you know, they're talking about it on sports radio. That's like the conversation of the day. And then you hear all these people calling saying, that they're blessing this kid because he made a stupid comment. And honestly, yeah, was it stupid? Yeah, it's stupid. It's something that you shouldn't say. And then it's all of a sudden you can't take accountability and the defense hates him. And I think it's true that, that the team didn't back him, and that's the sad
Well,
reality.
that's concerning to me. That seems like there's
Yeah,
something in the locker room that we really don't know about.
probably, and I don't think it was necessarily that comment, but that comment didn't help. That comment just
If you're
added.
a defensive player and you did your job, and somebody's no, I almost like he did his job, and no, the defense. If you're a defensive player and when you see the offense struggling, they get pissed off at mainly the quarterback. It happened in
Right,
Denver. Russell Wilson, one of the defensive players, was screaming at him because they were
right,
doing, they were doing a job.
right. But in fairness to Zach Wilson, that was a pretty tough question for a young second year player who has a lot of question marks, and he knows that all eyes are watching. So honestly, I didn't really have a problem with the way he answered it. I thought it was the wrong answer, but it wasn't one that you know, I'm ready to say, let's move on from him, which a lot of people are ready to do just because of that simple quote. Anyway, let's get back to the Giants, right?
Okay.
So here's my assessment of the season. One, they obviously exceeded expectations. Nobody expected them to be a playoff team. They were a playoff team. They won in the first round, which was great. And then they got blown out by a better team.
You
So
weren't even expected to be in that game or even go to that game. Or even like I said, the playoffs. So I wouldn't say, oh, they got blown out. They weren't even expected to be nothing this year.
they were not. They were not expected to be anywhere near the team that they were. So how did they do it? I mean, it wasn't smoke and mirrors. Daniel Jones actually had a really good season. He won a lot of those games almost. I can't say single-handedly because that's not an accurate statement. But without Daniel Jones behind center, they don't have the season they had. I mean, you and I have had these conversations. If you look up and down the NFL, how many NFL teams have a quarterback that you can say the team, if the general manager, right? The owner and the coach were in a room talking amongst themselves privately, how many of them would say we have our guy for the next 5 years? It's very few.
Five.
Five? Okay. We could go down the list, but I think it's
I'm gonna say there's a few that but I don't. I'm talking about elite, where oh, we definitely got our guy, and that's it.
right. So that being said, um, the Giants, if you look at what's coming up in free agency, there's some names coming out. I mean, you got Derek Carr, you have Tom Brady, you have Aaron Rodgers. I wouldn't take those two guys based on age. I mean, there's talk in New York that Aaron Rodgers may go to the Jets, and that might be a good fit because they're a win now team, right?
Also, you remember Lamar Jackson? That's a
Lamar
little
Jackson's
different.
a free
They
agent.
fired their offensive coordinator. That tells me something's weird going on there. So he might be on the move.
So he's a free agent. So you also have I mentioned Derek Carr. You also have Baker Mayfield, who I wouldn't want here.
Yeah.
You have Garoppolo. He's another one that's a free agent.
Yes, Garoppolo.
Okay, so of all those guys, who would you want in New York? At the Giants, not in New York. Right? Who would the Giants take over Jones? I say none of them. Okay, who's an upgrade?
Well, you know what it is? They know what they got with him right now and the system that they're running.
Exactly.
How much better would they be? How much better would they be?
They wouldn't be better. I mean, listen, you could. Aaron Rodgers makes anybody a better team right away. But how many years does he have left? Okay, I think he's 38. So
some said he was 39. I'm like, he's that old already? Whatever it is.
But he's not a young guy, and Tom Brady's 45. So I would not sign Brady. I would not sign Aaron Rodgers just based on age. I don't know if Derek Carr is an upgrade, to be honest with you.
Well, no, the reason why I don't think he is because Daniel Jones can run. Derek Carr cannot. Yeah. Well, that's a big part of their offense now.
I agree. So if you want to look at the Giants realistically, look at their receiving core. You have they finished the year with Hodgins, Slayton, Ricky James, and beyond that, you had a couple other guys. I mean, they did draft a rookie that got hurt week 10, I think it was. Rondell Robinson, I think his name is. I forget.
See, those are names that I almost get like, who are they?
Yeah, well,
you know what I mean. Hodges is the only one I know because he was with the Bills.
Yeah, so the point is they don't really have, a legit number one. Is Hodgins a legit number one? I mean, maybe he'll turn into that, but again, they got him off the waiver wire this year, so they don't really have. You look at some of these teams that are in the playoffs. I mean. You look at Cincinnati, their number one is Jamar Chase.
Well, yeah.
You look at the team that just beat them, A.J. Brown. You look at Justin Jefferson. I mean, come on. You look at you look at any top team and you take you take the number one to these top teams, and these guys are like
they all have a number one. So that tells me the Giants are probably gonna draft a wide receiver. That's just my prediction.
I think it really depends on, I'm a big proponent of the best available. They're not going to pick early.
No.
They're picking like
21st, 22nd, something like that.
Wherever it is. So, you could get somebody in free agency. You got to look at who's coming off right now.
Yeah.
Who will be available. But, I think you go for best available when you're building a team. Maybe they take best available receiver. I don't know how deep the wide receiver pool is.
Classes?
Who?
No, I said the wide receiver class in the draft.
Yeah, I don't know.
From what I heard, it's not as good as it was in the past 4 years.
Yeah,
you got to take that. You don't want to take a wide receiver just because you need that. Yeah. You don't want to just like a team that wants a quarterback. You don't just take it. That quarterback is not going to be an upgrade or your future.
Right.
Then you wait till next year, draft one later on.
Yeah. Let me give you my final point, Bill. My final point with the Giants season. So as I said, they far exceeded anybody's expectations. And now here's the key piece going into the next season. Going to the next season, you have some key guys coming off of two key players, right? That are free agents, Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley. Okay, what do you do? The news came out that Barkley was offered $16 million a year, and he turned it down. Earlier in the season. They offered $16 million, and he turned it down. So unfortunately for him, I think that really means is a no-brainer decision if you're the Giants. put the franchise tag on him, right? Which means that you'd have to pay him. I think it comes down to 10.1 mil for
Full
next.
guarantee, which is not a big deal.
Right. So franchise tag him, and you have to sign Jones. The question is, what do you sign him to? It sounds like he really wants to stay here. They asked him that question, the last game of the season, I mean, the playoff game, and he says, "Yeah, I really love it here. I'd really love to stay here." Sounds like he really sincerely wants to stay here. So the question is what do you give him? So my prediction is they're going to try to sign him to a 3-year deal, and I think that works for both sides, because if he has a good 3 years, he'll be young enough at the end of that contract where he can go for a nice, really big long-term deal.
Yeah.
That becomes on him. And then the Giants, because there's still some question marks. Was this year an anomaly, or is Daniel Jones, the Daniel Jones we saw in this season, is he going to build on that and get better as time goes on? I personally think he's going to get better.
Because he's not turning the ball over, so that's the main thing.
Right,
as far as fumbling the ball.
Bill, and if you put a legitimate one receiver out there, I think, he's going to flourish in a better offense. That's my opinion. Bill, thanks again for inviting me on. I really wanted to talk about the Giants. And what I would say to all your subscribers out there, if you like Bill's channel, his contact, help the guy out, like the video, share the video. If you're not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, because Bill has a lot of good things to say, and I think you're going to really enjoy some of the things. He told me some of the ideas he has for future video content, and I'm excited to hear. There's a lot of experience behind that Buffalo Bill jersey and hat. He's been watching football a long time. He might not be the most fluent guy when it comes to getting his point across, but he's getting a lot better at it. And I'm going to tell you something. This guy's a wealth of knowledge about football. He's a wealth of knowledge. So keep watching his channel and learn. If you're a young guy and you want to learn football, listen to this guy. He's got a lot of knowledge. All right, Bill. We'll talk to you later, buddy.
Take it easy. Thank you.